Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the potential for some pretty warm, maybe even hot weather over the next week or so as we begin September, as well as a chance for some thundery weather as well, a couple of thunderstorms. That's a bit more uncertain, but I'll look at that later in the video. We'll start off with the overview of the weather setup, and to do this we'll look at the GFS chart. These black lines are ice bars showing where the high and low pressure is, and you can see those are marked by the H and the L's. And then the colours are precipitation and the rain, that kind of thing. So I'll start off with the chart for midday today, and as you can see we've got high pressure extending across northwestern Europe there, so mainly settled, no rain, sunny, and as you can see that is what we've got across the UK today. If you look outside, at least where I am, it's pretty sunny. And then also notice we've got a low pressure system just the southwest of Portugal there. And then watch what happens to both those systems as I move through into Monday and Tuesday. And as you can see, that high pressure has shifted to the east, and that low pressure is kind of starting to sit just to the kind of northwest of where it was before. And as that happens, what happens in the UK is we draw up a more southerly flow. And so I can clear that there, and you can see the wind flows along the ice bars like that, and if you trace the wind back you can see it comes from southern France, the Mediterranean, Spain, which is a pretty warm area. So it makes a lot of sense that the air that's moving into the UK by midweek is warm and actually pretty hot. And one way we can show the air mass is by looking at the 850 HPA temperature. That stands for 850 hectopascals, which is the height of the atmosphere at which the pressure equals 850 hectopascals, and that's roughly around 1.5 kilometers. So it's above the surface. We don't have the kind of effects of the sun and the day and night cycle to affect the temperature. So what that means is it's a pretty good indicator of the air mass that you're in. And as you can see, what I was talking about there, you've got all that hot air from kind of North Africa, the Mediterranean, and that low moving kind of like this, the high moving to the east, allows all that hot air to move into the UK. And you can see by Monday and Tuesday we actually have those dark reds approaching 20 degrees at 1.5 kilometers moving into the UK, and it actually sits there for quite a long time, all the way through on this model until until next Monday. We've got those dark orange and kind of red colours across at least the southern areas of England, and at some points that warm air gets quite far north into Scotland even. So you can definitely see that the air mass across the UK through the next week is a pretty warm one. And if I show you the upper level setup as well, I can kind of give you an idea of how long the pattern is going to last. So what you see here is the wind at 500 millibars, which is the same as the 850 hectopascals, but this time it's just higher up because the pressure is lower. 500 millibars, by the way, millibars and hectopascals is kind of the same, it has the same kind of meaning. But 500 millibars is around 6 kilometers up in the atmosphere, and I'll change to a black color here. And so you can kind of get an idea of more of the upper level patterns, kind of how the jet stream and upper level highs and lows are behaving. And as you can see, if I actually, let me get this wheel back here, and if you can see for today, Sunday, we have very strong winds to the north of the UK. That is linked with the jet stream, and you have this cut-off low. It's cut off because you can see there's a low pressure here, and it's kind of cut off from the main jet stream, and that cut-off low is hanging over kind of parts of Spain and Portugal. It's kind of a pretty typical setup for kind of hot weather in the UK to have a cut-off low in that area. And as you can see, what happens is we get our upper level high building in, we get our cut-off low orienting itself so that we get a southerly flow over the UK. So that's where the hot air is kind of coming from. And the benefit of it being cut off is that the jet stream is not really influencing it to kind of push it away, which means that the air is staying for longer. That's why we've got those warm red colours all the way through until Monday. And if I show you this loop, what you can see here, get rid of the other stuff, but if I move this through, what you can notice is that the low stays to the kind of west of Spain, pushing up all that hot air all the way through until Thursday. We still have that upper level high. This is a pretty typical summer setup, and as you can see, it stays there all the way until the weekend, when finally we get a upper level trough coming through near Iceland. You can just see it on the edge of the screen there. And what that does is it kind of picks up the cutoff low and moves it north into the UK, so that the kind of hot air, there's our trough here, you can see our big low, it picks this up and moves it into the UK so that the kind of hot air is shifted away, and by now we're kind of back to a more typical autumn pattern, not as warm as you can see by there. But also that means that when we've got kind of this energy, the upper level low moving through, you can see a couple of short waves here. It is early, but when you've got hot moist air being drawn up from the south, and which can lead to instability, and you've got kind of the energy from these upper level systems to kind of trigger storms and lift, what can happen is you have the risk of kind of thundery breakdowns and storms, which is definitely what I would like to see at the end of any period of hot weather. And you can see that we do have a couple of kind of areas already to look out for on the model, where you kind of see that energy moving through. And if I show you the instability chart, this is the Cape convectively available potential energy, and as you can see through the week, on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and especially into the weekend, we have those kind of green and yellow colours showing up, especially across the western areas of the UK and into Ireland as well, which is indicating the potential for thunderstorms, especially like I just mentioned, if we do get that energy to disperse it. Potentially something significant towards Saturday and Sunday, but that is still very far out, so it's not worth kind of looking at the details, just worth being aware that it could be thundery, and that is when the thundery spell is, the warm spell is likely to end. You may also be wondering, how hot is it actually going to get? Because in the summertime, with those kind of upper air temperatures, we could be looking at potentially even kind of mid to high 30s, or maybe that's a bit extreme, but mid 30s definitely. But now that it's September, the kind of sun is a bit weaker, the temperatures don't tend to get as high, but still it's not going to be cold or kind of not hot by any means. And if I go through the UKV temperature chart, I'll put the link on in the description, you can see that for today, this is Sunday afternoon, already pretty warm, 25, 24 across much of England, and then fairly warm across the east coast of Scotland, and also fairly warm across parts of Ireland as well. But as you can see, the temperatures are building day by day. As you get that southerly flow, the air is kind of the hot air is really being pumped up into the UK. As you can see, by tomorrow, UKV suggesting, actually let me change the colour of the pen because you cannot see that at all. But as you can see, by tomorrow, UKV is suggesting 27, 28 degrees across parts of central southern England. And I mean, really, a lot of the UK and Ireland is looking to be pretty warm. Most of Wales, mid to high 20s there, even into the southwest, mid to high 20s, into parts of eastern England, eastern Scotland, and parts of Ireland as well, fairly warm. And that heat just builds day by day, increases, and actually looks like 30 degrees could be possible. And let me just change this run so you can actually see further. But you can see Tuesday, hints of 30 degrees there. I can see a 29, and also maybe the heat spreading into parts of western Scotland as well, northwest England. But you can see 28, 29, and actually on a Wednesday, I think we get the 30. Yeah, I can see a couple of 30s there across the south and southeast, and then another 30, actually even higher there, 32 across kind of parts of London and central southern England. So the UKV does have a slight warm bias at long ranges, so the temperatures might not be quite so high, but 30 degrees definitely possible, and that heat spreading north into parts of Scotland, northern England, and Ireland as well. And a lot of people may be wondering, is this technically a heat wave? So for it to be a heat wave, what we need is the temperature to be reaching the threshold value for 3 consecutive days, and a threshold value across kind of London and central southern England is 28 degrees, 27 degrees across parts of England, and then you can see on the map 25 degrees for the rest of the UK. And you can see that actually the threshold values, at least from the UKV model, which is a relatively kind of accurate depiction of what I think we'll see next week, and you can see we're going to see 28 degrees for definitely more than 3 days. We've got already 2 days there, 3 days, 4 days, and then possibly 5 days or 6 days on Friday and Saturday. So a fairly warm spell is coming up. Technically it will be a heat wave, and I'll see if we can see any thunderstorms on here. I don't think we can, but the risk of thundery stuff, like I said, with kind of that energy kind of interacting with the unstable air. But pretty much a kind of nice return to summer, as school goes back, which I wish it was kind of a couple of weeks earlier, but I'm still happy we're getting some nice weather finally. So enjoy the sun, enjoy the warm weather, and have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.